Welcome to Let Freedom Ring. This week, returning, making his second appearance on the show, Gary Stillwell. Gary, welcome back.
Thank you very much. I'm happy to be here for the second time.
Yeah, no, I was excited to have you. I know the last episode you did been a big hit on YouTube. So, how have you been since your last appearance?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me back as a guest for the second time, which lets me know that I must have done something right. So I've been okay. I've been blessed. Unfortunately, the things that we've been going through and that our country's been faced with, I've been able to sustain, and I've been able to weather the storm on a bigger magnitude. But, you know, Dan, I don't really just think about myself, but I think about the people out there who might not be as fortunate as we are. Mm-hmm. So, but I've been great other than that. I'm a man of faith. Yeah. And other than that, I've been good.
Awesome, good. Because, I mean, I know it's difficult. As we were talking about coming in the studio, it's like the pandemic, January. I don't think we've seen the sun since, Sunday maybe? It's now Thursday.
Yeah.
You know, so, I mean, definitely a lot going on with people. The country's crazy right now. Mm-hmm. Seasonal depression, pandemic depression. It's a lot on people right now.
Yeah, it is.
You know. So, but I'm glad you're doing well. Glad to have you back.
Well, thank you. And, I'm glad to be here.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's get into it because obviously, it has been probably one of the craziest weeks in U.S. history. As you know, last Wednesday, the Capitol was essentially attacked.
Yes, it was. It was.
So we had Trump supporters. They invaded the Capitol building. What were your thoughts when seeing the footage of this, of people actually just going in there and causing, I mean, they've been labeled domestic terrorists and things like that. What was your take on that?
Well, Dan, let me just pause for a minute and, you know, to give condolences to the families of the deceased because I was appalled, and I was really taken aback by this because, you know, these terrorists that did this to our country will be brought to justice. Mm-hmm. And, you know, that's one thing that goes to show you about the double standards in America, that, you know, that we've been beating that drum for so long. So this is just a preface of what has been going on, but some of the black and the brown folks have been long denied. So now we're seeing that symbolism of two different justices. So I was really hurt. And I was hurt because, you know, I mean, my God, I mean, this just doesn't go on. And I've been a part of, I've witnessed several marches, whether it was Black Lives Matter, whether it was whatever the injustices was of our times. And certainly I didn't see the level of tolerance by law enforcement. I didn't see, and what I seen, it hurt me and everybody else in the country because there was no, I mean, this was an insurrection, which certainly means an uprising on the governments, on the powers that be, those that are in power. And I believe it was in 1802, they had an Insurrections Act, which they put together, okay, to combat the insurrection, okay. So that, which meant that if somebody was to overthrow the government, you know, they will enact the Insurrections Act, which simply means that they have the ability to call out the militias, the killing team, the elite killing squad. They have they can call out the National Guard. America is well protected. Yeah. But what we seen was a double standard.
Because you see the different reactions because, you know, when Black Lives Matter they've had their protests, you had armed guards already there. Granted, they knew it was coming differently. Like the Trump rally, he definitely incited it. For that, I mean, he basically said, go do this. I mean, when you hear the audio.
Absolutely, Dan.
It's shocking, but did it feel like it was almost like, I mean, no one was stopping them from just walking in?
Well, I sat down with my dad today, and him and I discuss a lot of politics and things that are viable to being. I draw a lot of the wisdom from the older people. My dad is 84 years old.
Oh, wow.
Sharp as a whip.
Yeah.
And I draw a lot of things from him too. And we kind of met on the same wavelength in terms of, understand that the Capitol Police, first of all, it was an inside job. And 6 times they said the FBI wanted to call out the National Guard. Mm-hmm. But they said no, because when somebody looks like them, then you see the hypocrisy.
Yep.
And then you see the high level of racism and things like that that hurts our country, hurts the very fabric of our country. So they declined to call out any National Guards that can protect our country.
And there was a lot of different, because some people were saying Trump wasn't going to do it and that, the only one calling for protection was Pence. And I don't know what's true, what's not.
First of all, I don't believe anything the media says.
Fair.
And that's only because we're here.
Yeah.
Because of the media. But I want you to wrap your mind around this. I'm a guy that looks at the big picture.
Yep.
I try not to get trapped in the box. And that means that Trump didn't cause this. Trump is a cancer.
Symptom
and he's a symptom of the bigger cancer. That's all he is. Because if you realize millions upon millions of people, Dan, voted for him. Mm-hmm. So it just tells you about the backing of Trump. So Trump is in the equation.
Yeah.
Don't misunderstand me. But he's just a symptom of the illness which already pre-existed in America. It was just dormant.
I agree with that. Yeah. And I think that's been talked about a lot, is that, when you get right down to it, the only way he gets to be president if people support him. You know what I mean? So
absolutely.
What was your take too on? And I've seen this a lot on Facebook with people on the right. A lot of people that I know that voted for Donald Trump. They're sharing memes and misleading information, saying this was Antifa. This was actually Antifa. This wasn't Trump supporters that caused this, and they dressed it. Over the top ridiculous, or is it just me?
Well, let me clarify that, and that's a great question. I'm a guy who likes to get straight to the point. Mm-hmm. That way we can teach the audience at a later time, and we can critique America as well. The real problem that CNN and MSNBC, Fox, and the media won't tell you, I'm going to tell you right now.
Okay.
This had nothing to do with taking the country back.
Yeah.
Nothing to do with that. Okay, I suffer no illusions when it comes to politics. What it had to do with, Dan, was there's a fear of America turning black and turning brown as you see the power. The people hold the power, the powers that be, and they are inundated when it comes to losing their power.
Yep.
Okay, so it had nothing to do with that. But these are things that they would throw at you. It's like the Jedi mind trick. You create an illusion like there's smoke over there, and you have everybody looking in that direction. But meanwhile, the guilty culprit is over here getting away with the crime. So this happened because America was turning into a multicultural. If you look at the Senate in Georgia, the elections, that was historic within itself.
Yeah.
Okay, which was the first Jewish and black senators to take over Georgia. Georgia was a heavy Caucasian territory and everything like that. So they see that the power is declining and slipping away, so that they will lead you to believe that, okay, they will feed you something, and the media is just as dirty, because the media will run with that narrative. And when the media runs with that narrative, it gets perpetuated. So the truth is nowhere in the middle of what we're witnessing. Mm-hmm. So all of this is based on the country and the diversity which is in the country, and not liking the results of the election. And you can't take an election back.
And it's crazy because there's been no proof that this election was in any way cheated or stolen. which had been the narrative that the president kept going. And, I agree with you. I think a lot of this is race-based. And then I also think that, like, some of these Trump supporters are just in this cult mentality. And he's their cult leader, and he says it was stolen, and they believe him.
Well,
Dan,
to
the point where they went to the Capitol.
This starts with the great lie. The Republicans voted 77. They said 77 times that there was fraud in the election.
Yep.
So they was teeing this up a long time ago.
That's true.
Because see, one thing the politicians won't tell you is that they already read the polls, and they already see the dynamics, and they already seen the wave that was transparent that was coming through, and they already seen that the numbers that Trump couldn't win. So they seen that. So, and what happened was Trump said, "You have to find me 12." I think he said 12,000
that's right, yeah.
votes. Find me that. Overturn that.
Georgia,
Recalculate. Split the numbers. Split them twice. Split them 3 times.
Yeah.
So all these things. I mean, Donald Trump has crossed the line so many times that he doesn't even know when he's
there
crossed
is no
the
line almost anymore.
There is no line.
Yeah.
And it's a sickness.
Yeah.
And so therefore, and the people following him, we have to. I'm glad that, they came out, because I would rather a person expose who they are.
I agree.
Rather than have them hide.
Yep.
And try to differentiate from something. It's the thing where you throw a rock and then you hide your hand. So I'd rather them come out and we can deal with it.
Yep.
Because America is based on killing. America is based on revolution. America's not afraid of this.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're gonna lead you to believe, we're afraid. No.
Yeah.
They're not afraid. America is not afraid of anything like this. America will turn the page and lead you to believe that this didn't happen.
Yeah.
And
whoever's teaching it back in history, really.
That was your eyes.
Yeah.
Question your eyes.
Yeah.
But this didn't happen. So America is not afraid. They will lead you down that road to thinking that, and meanwhile they're just trying to put a spin on it so that they can move forward, because they don't have a problem with the country, and the police and everybody was in coast. They did a tour a day before. And so this was set up. It's an inside job. So all the information is coming out, because with the investigations. They did a tour the day before. And in that tour, they hadn't did a tour in a year due to the pandemic and everything like that.
Yeah.
So we're finding out that the government was involved. Some of the Republicans, and they were involved. So there's going to be a lot of people prosecuted. And I was listening to Representative Ocasio, and she told a very telling story.
Yeah, she was on Instagram basically telling how she was feeling during the actual field for her life.
And she said that during this atrocity, they were rushed to an area.
Yeah.
And when they was rushed to that area, they were all subdued and on the floor for their own precautions and safety. And she said that she looked up and she seen Republicans all around the room on the floor as well in the same room. And she was in fear for her life, because the Trump politics, the party of Trump, has turned them into assassins. So Ocasio said she was in fear that they will call and tell and disclose their location and have them killed.
Yeah, I mean, the tensions in D.C. have been on an all-time high, and now now it's actually happening what people feared.
Absolutely.
Obviously, this is one of the craziest things in our lifetime. I mean, we've seen a lot. I mean, you've a little more than me over the years, but obviously we've had 9/11. We were living through this. Now this has happened. Things have happened in the past too, but it's historic. It's insane. But it really gets me to this. Trump has now been impeached twice. Okay, that's historical as well.
Sure.
Finally, Mitch McConnell seems that he's turning on Trump. Trump has asked them to stop the violence, which it's almost like he says that it's like wink, wink.
Yeah, somebody written the story for him.
Yeah, exactly.
Those are precautionaries when you're going to get sued, the liability.
He doesn't want to be prosecuted.
But that's too late for that, though.
But in your opinion, because we're going to be looking back at this is going to be in the history books, this whole presidency and everything. What will be the legacy of the Trump presidency?
Well, that's a great question, and I'm glad you asked, because I want to be honest with you.
Yeah, no,
Okay.
I think this. I want to hear this take.
I pride myself on being honest. See, the problem is he won't have a legacy. Okay, now Trump is as good as his last casualty. Okay, I mean we already forgot about the pandemic. We already forgot about I don't know what the number is. Last time before this, I think the number was 400,000 people deaths. So, in terms of legacy, you don't get that opportunity to pick a legacy when you have so much failed chaos and turmoil going on. And let's not forget, he put babies in the cage. This is the same guy who put babies in the cage. This is the same guy who separated families at the border. This is the same guy who all the brown children he in cages would never see their parents again. And this is the same guy who gave the top 2%, the millionaires, tax breaks and took away everything. This is the same guy who defunded the programs for HBO and black universities. So this is the same guy who failed to lead on the coronavirus task force. So this is the same guy who issued out hate and rhetoric and gave marching orders for his demographics to storm the Capitol and to kill and to hang Mike Pence. And this is the same guy who, when we seen the indigenous people out there prior to that many months ago before the protests, the peaceful people, one of the things that the militias that was out there from the government said was, we want to protect these buildings. You know, we don't want to, we don't want the Black Lives Matter or the protesters going near the buildings. So that was just something so to let you know that we're ready to kill you guys. But so let's not forget, Trump triggered all this. So let's not forget he's the same guy who said go out and fight and go out. And he's the same guy. This is Trump's doing. And he's paying for that because the Circuit Court of New York, they're going to be suing him. They're coming after him for some other endeavors, failed business endeavors that he was trying to dodge. And also the conglomerates are pulling their funding, the monetary gains that big corporate businesses, lobbyists, we like to use different words, but they're basically lobbyists who fund the government and give the government. So all that money, they said that they're no longer going to give him. So, and his brand is pretty much, he's being sued. And also he has wrongful death lawsuits going on. You forget there was 5 individuals that this mob killed. And also, just to take it one step further, I don't want to hold it hostage. But, the police, I remember they said Blue Lives Matter, and they do. Every life matter. But I didn't hear any of that. What happened to the 2 cops? I didn't hear that. What happened to the Blue Lives Matter? And one thing too, I want to say, I don't want to take up too much of your time. The police were involved as well. They got caught up into it.
Yeah, there were some. I don't want to say all.
Not all of them.
Yeah.
But and the police want their unions to back them when it comes down to them assassinating someone. But at the same time, you can't have a double standards where you go out and you take part in a malicious marauder, a thug mob, terrorist, and you're killing other cops, and yet you still want your union to stand by you. So you can't have it both ways. You
can't. I think they were both probably in an agreement right now, is that the legacy or the book of Trump and how he'll be remembered is a failure to this country. And there's going to be people that will probably watch this and they're going to disagree with that. But, we lived through it, and, it is what it is.
Yeah, Dan, let me just say this to the people who might not agree. One thing about me, I'm the most bipartisan guy that there is. I'm the most guy who's willing to listen to any story. I have friends of all denominations. And so my job is not to create havoc, but my job is to give my take on it as I see it. And I'm entitled and responsible for myself and my beliefs. So if anyone has a misunderstanding, we could sit down, because we're still allowed to do that.
Yeah.
We're still allowed to have dialogue.
And I'm glad that this is why we have this show here. This is what we need to be doing.
It's not gone. People think it's gone. You don't have to beat the guy over the head. You don't have to kill the guy. Let's sit down and talk.
Yeah.
We can agree to disagree. So we can sit down and talk about it.
No, I think that's great, and that's a big reason why I do this show, because I'm not, we will have people on here that don't agree with what we're saying, but we're kind of on the same page with that, and it is what it is. Moving on, though, we are still in the middle of, we still are in a pandemic. My sister-in-law, who works, she's a physician's assistant, my soon-to-be sister-in-law, I'm sorry, they were supposed to get married.
Let's just say congratulations.
So she got the vaccine today. And I know some other people have been getting it. Vaccines rolling out. Your take, where do you see us by the summertime? What do you think life's going to be looking like? Well, if you were to predict.
Let me just back up for just a minute. Let me piggyback off the first thing that you said. First, I want to address the vaccine.
Sure.
I'm going to be honest with you. I have a problem with trusting government.
Okay.
And, I have a problem with trust.
Yep.
It's not that I trust, but I verify. So, in other words, I'm not really too keen on when the government says try this, give you something, or stuff like that. So, as for me, I won't be taking the vaccine.
Okay.
That's just me personal.
Yeah.
I won't be taking the vaccine, and my children won't be taking the vaccine. But now let's move forward. Down the line, if there's a situation where I can't overcome, and I'm in a no sound state of my own, and something like that has to happen, then that's different. My wife will make that call.
Sure.
But I still think we have to move with caution.
Yeah. No, I agree.
Because people are still willing to display arrogance over common sense. Mm-hmm. So I think we got to move slowly and do what we know is right.
Yeah, and I agree. I mean, I'm cautious of it too. I think a lot of people are. I will say, if the vaccine gets me to baseball games this summer or wrestling shows, then I say I'll take the risk because I want to live my life.
Eventually, probably. I might change my mind, but
and we're going to see the other thing. People like us, we're not going to be the first ones. We're not the first ones to get it, so we'll see kind of how it goes.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. We'll see. But I don't like anything forced upon me.
Oh, I agree.
I think back from the Tuskegee Airmen, back when the government was injecting syphilis into the soldiers and to the airmen. Yeah. And they was infecting them with diseases, the black Tuskegee Airmen. Mm-hmm. And but beyond that, it's just, I just don't feel comfortable with some things, I hold firm on that.
Yeah, we'll have to see. We're going to have to see how it plays out, obviously. Yeah. We're going to see how people react to it. And it's one thing, I just hope by the summer, if I can sit at a baseball game, have a beer and a hot dog, give me the vaccine right now. So, we do have one fan question.
Sure.
And this guy, I got a real problem with him. We've been going back and forth. I got called out on the Morse code as being a Tom Brady hater. I'm not a hater of Tom Brady. It's hard. I'm rooting for him and I'm not rooting for him. But anyways, Soapy Pre-Up, he asked. Now we've been going back. I was on his show. He made an unfortunate comment about Owen Hart that I did not appreciate, being a diehard wrestling fan that I am. But then Soapy asked, how much would I have to pay Gary to put you in cripple lacrosse face? Then again, so that's a move by Chris Benoit. Again, a very sensitive subject for wrestling fans. So Soapy he just can't hit the mark on this. He's always offending me somehow.
Let me just interject real quick. First of all, there's nothing like great humor. Yeah. And I would like to see that. And right here somewhere, in the studio, in the studio. But that's funny. Like I said before, just to reiterate, it's important to be able to have a laugh. Yeah. So that would be interesting, though.
Yeah, it definitely would be. And that would be interesting. Or maybe Gabriel Danger would put me in one. We'll see that too.
Oh wow.
All right, but anyway, Soapy, I'm coming for you, and we'll have our showdown soon. All right, let's get to sports here. We talked about a lot of serious stuff here, but let's have a little fun with some sports.
Sure.
The Nets signed James Harden. They gave up quite a bit. I don't have it in front of me. So they signed James Harden. They already have Kevin Durant, who, if you don't I love watching Kevin Durant play basketball.
Absolutely.
But Kyrie Irving is MIA.
Well,
The Nets gonna make. Is this this is championship or bust? I would say.
Let me say this. Well, first of all, I think they gave. I believe he has a 3-year. I think they said 143 million, something like that.
Yeah.
And that's a handsome piece of money right there. That's a lot of change for Harden. I mean, not for Harden, but for it's good money.
Team,
it's good money. And also, I love KD too. And KD is I think personally he's one of the best. He's one of the best players on the planet, second to LeBron James.
Yes.
And he's a gunslinger.
Yeah.
I mean, he's running gun but let me just say this too. I believe they did this trade because they're looking down the road, and because Kyrie is there's some smoke right now. I believe that's going on with him. And they said him and KD is not really on a level like that. So and KD they're both championship contenders.
Yeah.
And Kyrie is, in terms of like the basketball IQ, he's one of the greatest. And the only thing I have to say about like a Kyrie is he wants to be something that he has to stay in his lane, because like he wants to be like a LeBron James or AD. He's there, but you gotta. He wants to take over teams. He wants to be that person, and he wants to be the big dog. And there's nothing wrong with that.
And he won't be on this team.
No.
Sure.
You have to work together.
Yeah.
And also that trade, it might be based around him too. So we don't really know if he's going to really be staying, because they gave up a lot for.
The Rockets' future looks really bright after that trade.
They did. It does. And the Rockets wasn't going anywhere because I think their record, I was checking the stats, I think it was 3. I think they won like 3. They were losing. They were like there with the Pistons. I think the Pistons, and they were like at the bottom.
Yeah.
So they was going nowhere fast. But I think that if Kyrie and KD and James Harden and all those guys were on the same page, it's definitely, I think we could see something like Lakers versus
the Nets.
The Nets. Because KD they're there, but they gotta have that cohesiveness. They're gonna play together.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting because as a Celtics fan, I'm like, I don't want Harden. But this is an interesting,
Yeah. What you got to understand too, Dan, is the Celtics haven't played in like a week. I think they're on COVID.
Yeah.
So, I mean, basketball is still being played.
Yeah.
But they just, they got to pick up where they pick up when they come back. But as for the Celtics, I think they're not there.
Yeah.
And I know Tatum and Brown and all those guys, they're a good young team.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's the coaching staff. I don't know if it's Brad. I don't know what it is, because they come to the threshold, but it's just like they can't close the deal.
No, that's true. I mean, let's see what happens. I'm very curious to what's going to happen in the East. I mean, if Kyrie comes back, this team is going to be they're already dangerous with Harden and Durant, but hopefully Kyrie decides what he wants to do.
Well, they said they're talking now. They said there's rumors that he might sit out. So that's the thing. That's why I think Steve Nash. That's why I think
he doesn't like Steve Nash. Kyrie, I guess, doesn't like him.
He didn't want him hired, and I think they said that Steve Nash, they did this trade.
Yeah.
Around, they might not come out and tell you, but around Kyrie, because they don't know what he's going to do.
Yep.
And but like I said, I mean, I don't subtract anything from him, because he's a dynamic player.
what to do.
You know, I don't subtract anything from him.
Yeah.
He's great.
Yeah.
But you can't be great and let something else take over that greatness.
Yeah.
So he's got to figure it out.
Yeah, we'll have to see what happens. Very interesting. I mean, the funniest thing on social media was President gets impeached for a second time, but no one cared. Everybody cared about James Harden going to the Nets.
Nobody cared.
All right, Patriots they're not in the playoffs. First time since 2008, which is okay. You know, watching the games last week, not being stressed out, watching football was kind of nice. Just watch, you know. But we got some games this weekend, so I want to get your predictions.
Sure.
We got the number 1 seed in the AFC, the Chiefs, going against the Browns, and the Browns look great against the Steelers.
Yeah, they do.
You know,
they look great. And one thing I say is it could go either way. And somebody was asking me, and I said, you know what? I don't bet. I used to bet, but I don't do that anymore because I understand how hard it is to really financially and stuff like that. But it's going to be very interesting, Dan. I mean, make no mistakes about that. And, you know, it's a tough call.
Yeah.
You know, it's a tough call because it's all going to come down to who's ready on that day and who can execute.
It's true.
Yeah.
Now, we predicted last week on the show that the Chiefs would repeat in the Super Bowl, so we will see.
Yeah, we'll see.
But this is like what's kind of cool about this year is that you're seeing some teams here that we haven't seen
I know
in a while in the playoffs. So you got the Ravens and Bills in Buffalo.
That's what I was talking about. And, you know, my sister-in-law, my brother-in-law, he's from Buffalo, right?
Oh, okay.
And, you know, so you know, I straddle the fine line, but I think that they could maybe kick some butt. They might can come out.
I mean, I would love. I mean, I think the Chiefs are going to win. I mean, if I'm like predicting, if you were saying, "Hey, put money down," I'm putting money on the Chiefs.
Yeah,
but
that's
a Browns Bills AFC Championship game would be great for everybody.
It would, and they know that. And they know that.
All right, let's get into the NFC. Number 1 seed, Green Bay. The Rams knocked off the Seahawks.
That was a big tribute and everything, and so I think going forward, I like the underdogs.
Okay.
For some reason.
Yeah.
You know, only because you know I've came true. It came true when I felt that way, and I just got that gut feeling sometime, and that's what I go on. You know, and.
So you got the Rams?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
I like the underdog.
All right.
You know, it's funny though. But let me say this. I honestly, that was a second choice. But I said I'm going to go with that. We'll see what happens.
Okay.
You know, not to sound like Donald Trump. But
Yeah. All right. Now, last game. Now, you know, a lot of people on the internet have really attacked Patriots fans for supporting Tom Brady and the. My thing is like I'm like torn where I'm like jealous that Brady's making this run with the Bucs and not us, but I am rooting for him, and he was our quarterback for 20 years. You know.
Yes.
We're gonna support him where he went, unless it was a New York team.
Let me say this. Yeah. Right. Not cutting you off.
Yeah.
But I get it. I know how you feel.
Yeah.
And Brady's doing some big things right now.
Yeah.
And I know like when the Bucs when they started off, you know. We didn't know what to expect from Brady, and some people was hoping he failed. Some people we didn't know what to expect, but he's actually turning things around. And I was looking at something. I said, okay, yeah. So I like Brady, right? And you know, and I'm gonna go with him.
Okay, because the Saints have blown them out.
Yeah. I'm gonna go with him, and I believe it will be very interesting, and. I think they'll be okay. They got Gronk. How's Gronk looking? He's
been better than he was at the beginning. Right? You know,
and they got Brown. I mean,
even Brown's played.
Yeah. You know, they're clicking. So I'll go with Brady because he stepped it up. You know, I'm not going to compare him and Cam together because obviously they're two different.
Do you think the Patriots now? Because we've been getting into this a lot. I really liked Cam Newton, and I really wanted it to work because I like Cam Newton. Is the record different if Brady was the quarterback this year?
Well, let me tell you what. I'm gonna disagree, but I'm gonna disagree slightly, only because you got to realize they didn't have much,
Nothing.
to work with.
Yeah.
And they honestly didn't. And I was let me tell you, I was very, very disappointed in the Patriots. And that's only because sometimes I don't like to get too attached to sports.
Yeah.
Because, when your team.
They'll rip your heart out.
Yeah. And then when your team, and when I seen Cam in the first few games, I said, okay, yeah, I think he's on to something.
Yeah.
But I'm not just gonna blame Cam. Because I'm gonna blame the team. But I don't know. I don't know what Belichick's gonna do. Whether he's gonna bring in another QB or what he's gonna do. But I like Cam, but it just didn't look good. You know what I mean?
No.
And sometimes when you suffer losses like that, it's good to just move on.
And you good. Get, he was coming back. I mean, he might go
somebody
somewhere else.
Somebody will pick you up.
Yeah, he might go somewhere else and be great. All I can say about Cam Newton is, you can't trash the guy because he came in here with class the whole time.
You can't trash him.
Tried to do his best, and unfortunately, it was what it was. And just on the Patriots, real quick. And I don't want to go down a political.
It was disappointing to me.
It was a rough year, but that's okay because we've been spoiled. I'll live with it.
Yeah.
But just while we're touching base on the Patriots, I don't want to go down another. We've talked a lot about politics, so I don't want to go down a deep hole on this. Belichick was invited to the White House to get the Medal of Freedom, and some of the ones that Trump has given out have been kind of like an insult to all of us. I felt like Belichick. He has been a face of sports for many, many years or whatever. He could be in the running to get that. Regardless, Belichick declines to go. I think I know your answer, but did Belichick make the right move here?
Oh, for certain. Yeah. I mean, there's not a question in my mind. First of all, what you have to understand, the organization, Belichick is just a coach.
Yeah.
Now.
And GM.
Yeah. And what I said was, you want to be careful not to divide up these people. Number one, coming from Trump, it has no merit.
Yeah.
And he don't understand what these prestigious medals mean. Had you been somebody who understood what it mean and you didn't do the things that you've done, so Trump has no validity, first of all, to pass out any medals.
Yeah.
Because, you haven't walked the walk yourself.
And because he gave Rush Limbaugh, I don't know what he gave him. Was it the Medal of Freedom?
So, yeah.
Because that was a joke.
So what he's doing, what Trump is doing, if you don't know Trump by now, you never know him.
Yeah.
What he's doing basically is he's insulting America.
Yeah.
That's what he's doing. He doesn't even really, he's doing it out of spite. And Belichick understood that. He understood that. He said, I don't know what he said, but he couldn't accept that.
He may say he's American first in so many
words.
Because
I do remember what he said, but what I'm saying personally, he's like, there's no way I can accept that. Yeah. Number one, it's going to divide our team.
Yeah.
Because Trump is all about divisiveness.
Yep.
So that's what he wants to do, but it's a psychological, strategic. He plants the seeds. He plants the seeds of ignorance.
Yep.
But Belichick was smart enough to say, I'm all set.
Yeah.
Keep that.
Yeah, I agree. And even so Dan Gable got a Medal of Freedom, which I thought Dan Gable is probably like the greatest wrestler. He is next to Cael Sanderson, because I think Cael, I don't know if you're familiar with NCAA wrestling, but Cael Sanderson never lost a match, went and got a gold medal. Dan Gable was like the face of amateur wrestling in the United States for a long time. And Trump gave him one, and Gable, Trump left, and Gable goes, oh, he's gone? Okay. Anyway, he was like happy, like he was out of the room.
Yeah, because the thing is, Trump doesn't understand.
Yeah.
I mean, Trump he's low IQ.
Yeah.
And he just doesn't understand. I mean, those medals mean something.
Yes.
Those medals, throughout the history, when you gave somebody a medal, it meant something. Whether you gave them a Medal of Valor, whether you gave them a medal like when Barack passed out the medals.
Yeah.
Whatever it was, whether it was the Pulitzer Prize or whatever the medals was, they meant something. And you just can't let somebody pass something out and you don't understand the value of what this is. You don't get it. And Trump doesn't get it.
Yeah.
So that it would be an insult for that person to say, well, yeah, I accept this. And that just shows that you don't understand either.
And especially in the timing with it. So I think that was a slam dunk question, but I just wanted to acknowledge Belichick.
Yeah, that was
decline.
That was open and closed.
Yeah.
Definitely.
All right, so I just want to bring up a couple of things in pop culture, and then we'll get to blank versus blank. All right, so about 20 years ago yesterday, about a week before that was, because, you've been a wrestling fan, your son's a professional wrestler.
Yeah.
Extreme Championship Wrestling closed their doors 20 years ago, which is, the time is just, I feel like I was just watching ECW yesterday. You have a favorite moment from ECW at all?
Well, first of all, let me just say this too. Extreme ECW, I've watched a lot of the wrestling's companies evolve, and it's sad because one thing, I'll answer the question in 1 minute. I just want to say one thing is, you have to evolve. It's kind of like basketball, or you have to reinvent yourself. You have to come up with gimmicks, and I've watched wrestling go from ring mechanics, go from ring technicians, and go from things like that, where, and as it evolved, then it changed, which is supposed to. Then it went from the newer generation of the flips and the acrobats and the things like that. So, and all that, you have to be creative. It's like basketball.
Yeah.
You have to get good people and new people in there. And I watched them go through bankruptcy and things like that. And I think that happens. And I also watched, I remember when WWF was the only conglomerate that Vince McMahon was basically the top dog.
Yeah.
He ruled the industry. And then there was little smaller subsidiaries started to come, AEW, and different branches,
now they're coming.
NXTs
they're on the rise
like
again.
that. Yeah, and they started to come. But I take it back from, I got a lot of respect for guys like Terry Funk.
Yeah.
I got a lot of respect for guys was in ECW as well. Was Guerrero, Eddie Guerrero
was
that
there.
generation back then, way before Heyman. So I've seen like the different echelons rise and fall, and it's a business where you have to stay creative. And, and it looks like it's all fun and games and sportsmanship, but it's tough.
Yeah.
It's tough.
It's crazy because it was just like, wow, 20 years went by fast. I mean, obviously, my favorite moment was they came to the Salem Ice Arena for a TNN taping, and I got on TV. Like, I had the tape somewhere at my parents' house going like, ECW.
You still got that?
Huh?
You still got that?
It's somewhere at my parents'. Unless they threw it out, it should be in the attic. But there was just so much. I loved the Masato Tanaka matches with Mike Awesome and Shane Douglas at the time. The franchise was one of my favorite wrestlers. So I mean, there was so many great things.
Yeah, there was.
It just stinks that they just didn't have the money, or they got a bad TV deal, and it just kind of let them. It just someone posted a video of the last night, and all the wrestlers in the ring, and you just look back on 2001 and go, man, it was too soon, because those arenas were still packed.
They were still vibrant.
They
were still vibrant, and that's why there's so much that changes, and it's a tough road. The independent. I mean, like the wrestling business period. It's a tough road.
I do think they got too because we talk about independence, right? ECW isn't. It wasn't too far off from being like a chaotic wrestling that just. It was like Eastern Championship Wrestling. It was like part of the NWA, but it grew and it grew and because it was just out of Philly.
It got bigger.
And how do you sustain that?
Yeah.
So it is sad. There was a lot of wrestlers on the market that time, because we'll get to this probably in the next Let Freedom Ring, because after ECW collapsed, so did WCW.
We're going to definitely have to expand on that topic.
Yeah. Which gets us into professional wrestling. Now, your son Gabriel Danger, he's a professional wrestler. What's the future hold for him right now? And I know like COVID's made it difficult for him. I don't know if he's still able to train or anything like that.
Well, that's a great question.
Yeah.
And right now, things are so difficult. And what Gabriel's doing right now, he's actually writing a book.
Oh, okay.
He's writing a book, and he's writing it's a fiction book.
Okay.
But in the book, he's the main character, and so he also wants to create his own video game.
Okay.
So he's got a lot of things on his plate, and but he stays in shape. That's one thing he does. He stays in shape. So because I was always told if you stay ready, you don't have to get ready. So he's in shape, but where he's going, I try to stay out of his lane.
Yeah.
Because I'm the dad.
Yeah.
And I try to let him, what I try to do is instill good family values in him, and I try to prepare him so he could become a decision maker.
Mm-hmm.
And so when he becomes a decision maker, I'm the guy who instills the family values. So he's got a lot of different things, and he's only 18. He just turned 18.
He's got his whole life ahead of him.
Yeah, so he's only 18. So he comes up with things, and I sat down with the publisher.
Yeah.
And this book he's trying to write, I got a guy working with him, and because Gabriel got a whole lot of great ideas,
mm-hmm.
but he's narrating the story, but he has to get the ideas out of his head.
Yep.
And that's where it comes with where the guy who's editing helps him out. He extracts it, and he can put it down on paper. In
mm-hmm.
other words, like, you have to hire people that brings the things out that will help you to implement your writing and your book and get that down. So he's right now, I'd be remiss to say exactly what Gabriel is going to do and what his plans are. I can easily sit here and tell you what my plans are.
Yeah.
But as a dad,
yeah.
one of the things we try not to do is speak for our children.
Yep.
Because I catch a lot of heat for that.
Yeah.
Because some of the things I want and he don't want.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So if he decides he want to cut down trees in the backyard, I have to support that.
Yeah.
So I don't know, but he's staying in shape. He's still I got a personal trainer I hired. We work with Cardillo. We work with Doug Clark, all those guys.
Yeah.
And they keep my son in shape. They keep him rock steady and ready for anything. So we have a team in place. He's never without somebody working with him. And I just hired a publisher to help him to chart his way so he can get his vision out there. So, my job is just to make sure he's a good kid and that he can make his own decisions and see where he's at.
Well, me and Leo both said you're a great father, and we know that, and that's we know you support him no matter what.
It means millions. It means a lot to hear that, only because I certainly do the best that I can.
Yeah.
And and one of the reasons I do the best that I can, because when I was growing up, I didn't have that type of love where, my parents, they did the best that they can.
Mm-hmm.
But, I've always told myself that, I would have to be the guy to lead the way.
Mm-hmm.
I would have to be the guy to give you instructions so that when I'm no longer on this earth, you can feel comfortable about proceeding with your life with the guidelines and the values that I left you with.
Yeah. No, I like that, and I'm glad to hear he's doing good because we haven't. I know, like during the pandemic, because you'd share a lot of. It was fun watching, see how things were going with him. So I'm glad that he's doing well.
Yeah, he's doing well, and a lot of the wrestling. I see some people still wrestling, but it's it's not the same, really.
Yeah.
I look at little small videos of people putting out things. I think, but like I said, that's fine if that's what they want to do. That's fine too. But there'll come a time when things come back full circle.
Yep.
And we'll be aggressive at it when it does come back around. So.
Hey, and that's the beauty of being young. Like you say, he's 18, so he's got the whole.
Yeah,
he's got
just
the whole.
turned 18.
Yeah, he's got
Yeah, he just turned 18. So. He tell me one thing, and then the next thing is. So my job is just to be a parent.
Yep. No, good to hear. All right, so let's get into blank versus blank. So we got a few here. We got some time. All right, first one. So in our last 20 years, we've seen two Republican presidents. We saw President Trump. We saw President Bush. You had to pick one to lead the country. Who are you picking?
Are you serious with that?
It's blank versus blank. So
I'll tell you, that's funny. I'll pick both Bushes. The dead one.
Yeah.
I'll pick the dead. I'll pick the senior guy. I'll bring him back from the grave.
Yeah.
And I'll pick the other Bush.
Yeah.
And let me just interject one thing.
Yeah.
I can remember when, Bush and Al Gore and all those guys were going at it, and we thought that Bush was a bad guy, but Bush wasn't a bad guy.
Yeah.
Because he's a very profound individual, but we learned that over time. and you see his demeanor, how he just stays out of politics.
Yep.
And I like that. And that's like Obama. Those are classy presidents. When you just stay out of politics, you're not on Twitter. You're not.
Yeah.
You're not a rebel now. So you're not saying frivolous stuff. But everybody learned to like him. Like even Michelle Obama.
Yeah, they're good friends.
And his wife. They're like. And he turned out to be a great person. You know what I mean? He turned out to have a great soul. So I would wake up the senior Bush from the grave.
Yeah.
And I would never side with Trump.
I know, I didn't think you would. Because I will say, I don't agree with a lot that George W. Bush did in his presidency. However, when COVID broke out, I would have had more confidence with everything, hearing him do press conferences every day than this mess that we saw.
I believe. Let me just say. Let me just say this, because I believe if what too. I want you to understand. If presidents handle business differently than this era that we're witnessing right now, so this is unprecedented. It's never happened before. So I mean, there's no doubt about it. I mean, there was protocol. They had books. They had stuff that they followed. They did it right. This is not the norm. So what we're witnessing is something that I don't ever want to see again.
Well, it's almost over.
Yeah. Next week it's over. It's over now, really.
I think I know your answer to this one too, but I'm just going to ask you. We don't have to spend too much time on it. Kevin Durant or LeBron James?
Yeah, that's funny. I'm going to take my man, LeBron James.
Yeah.
I'll tell you that.
I know we're both fans. I mean, I hate that he's on the Lakers, but I know we both really like LeBron.
Let me say one thing, and I won't make it too long. I'll make it short. I've been watching LeBron lately, and I think the Lakers, they're gonna repeat, and here's why. Because LeBron is not the primary ball handler anymore. They got Derek Schroeder, because one of the things when they picked up Schroeder, TNT, Taylor Horton Tucker, they picked up Montrezl Harrell, which is phenomenal. They picked up James Matthews, I think. So they picked up 5 guys, and they critiqued them and worked them, and it's great. And one of the things that Schroeder said when he came up, he said, look, I don't want to come off the bench. I don't want to come off the bench. He said, I want to start. And I think that was one of the greatest things. And Anthony Davis and LeBron, I was like, this guy want to start coming up in LeBron's house. And it's beautiful because if you watch LeBron James, he's gotten so good. It's almost like unbelievable. He's looking like a KD.
Yeah.
He's hitting that 3-pointer outside range. He's a prolific scorer. He's able to go off the ball, and he's still a phenomenal playmaker, the passer. I take nothing from KD, but LeBron has just gotten fun to watch.
Yeah.
And he always was like that, and he's still got that speed. He hasn't slowed down. I think.
And I don't want him to because I'm the same age as him, and I don't want to start thinking I'm old.
Yeah. You got a long way to go.
All right. New chaotic wrestling champion Mike Vernon or the Chase that runs the place, Chase Del Monte.
Yeah. Let me say this. Both those guys are great guys. I know both of them, right?
Yeah.
And like Vernon puts a whole lot of work in. And.
He got an AEW too.
I remember when he's in AEW now.
Well, I don't know if he signed, but he's been on AEW television. Yeah.
I know Green, Sonny Green is. Anthony Green.
Yeah, in NXT.
He's got a gig. Yeah, and they're both great. Chase Marty's great, and Mike Vernon, Superman, he's great too. And when you get to know some of those guys, like I have, then you get to know who they really are.
Yeah.
And
both great guys.
Yeah, they're both great guys. But everybody has their perks, stuff about them. But we won't go into that. Yeah. But all I'm gonna say is Mike Vernon, Superman, the Man of Steel, is a great guy. Chase, he's phenomenal. It's
too hard to pick.
Too hard to pick.
A funny thing is I got a message from Chase Del Monte saying someone has been kind of like messing with them as they've been trying to reestablish themselves. And he sends me a message saying someone told him that I said that they had canceled their show and they weren't going to have it. You know how they've been doing the recordings.
Right.
So I said, okay, it's weird someone's using my name that way, but I said, how would I know any of that?
Yeah.
And
unless you're plugged in.
Like, what? And he's like, okay, so if someone's trolling him, who's ever bothering Chaotic Wrestling, leave them alone. I mean, they like, come on. It's just, people are ridiculous.
Yeah.
All right, so last one, always the toughest one in Blank versus Blank. Mm-hmm. The Ring and All Other Sports with Leo Connors. You've been a guest on that show as well. But you've been a 2-time guest on Let Freedom Ring. You got to pick one.
Well, let me say this, right? Let me say this to you, right? And I pride myself on honesty. You know, and sometimes I have more honesty than money. But, you know, I'm going to tell you, I like both of you guys.
Yeah.
And the reason I do is, you know, Leo Connors is phenomenal.
Yeah.
You know, he invited me on his show, and I went on his show. And that was the first television, you know, that was the first time I really, and Gabriel was with me. That was the first time. So I can't knock Leo Connors. And you know, so that was the first time I was on TV.
Yeah.
So I appreciate Leo Connors, and I appreciate you as well because.
And this show would not exist without Leo.
Right, and
I wouldn't
you
even have
piggybacked off of him.
Yeah.
So you know, I remember I think he told me the story about he used to cut his hair or something like that. So
me? No, I never.
Somebody said something like that.
Yeah.
Well, it was long ago. You know, so much going on. I don't know what it was, but I tell you, I would say this. I want to leave on this note.
Yeah.
Keep doing what you're doing, and you know, keep doing what you're doing, and you know, if you ever need my help or anything I can do, I certainly be happy to help.
Well, we'll definitely have you back, and I would take the Ring in all their sports myself. But anyways, Gary, thanks for coming back. Pleasure to have you on the show. We will have you on again.
Absolutely.
So everybody out there, even Soapy, you know, wear your mask, keep your heads up. Until next week, let freedom ring.